My name is Natalie Chen. I'm 29 years old. I teach 3rd grade at Oakmont Elementary School in Bellevue, Washington. My brother is Derek. He's 34. Investment banker. Lives in a penthouse in downtown Seattle with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of Elliott Bay. Our parents died 6 months apart. Mom first. Stroke. She went to book club on a Thursday evening and never came home. Dad followed in March. Heart attack in his sleep. The doctor said grief does that sometimes. Breaks the part of you that keeps beating. They'd been married 39 years. I was the one who found Dad. I'd been staying at the house in Medina since Mom died. Making sure he ate. Making sure he took his pills. Making sure he didn't spend all day sitting in her chair staring at nothing. Derek visited once. In February. He stayed 40 minutes. The funeral was small. Dad had outlived most of his friends. Mom's side of the family lived in Taiwan. We had 12 people at the service. Derek gave the eulogy. He talked about legacy. About the business Dad built from nothing. About the values he instilled. Hard work. Vision. Excellence. He didn't mention that I'd been the one making Dad breakfast every morning for 5 months. That I'd sorted through Mom's closet because Dad couldn't bear to touch her things. That I'd held his hand while he cried. After the service, Derek found me in the parking lot. "We need to settle the estate," he said. "No greeting. No how are you holding up. I've already spoken with Dad's attorney. Simple distribution. The business assets, the investment accounts, the properties, it all transfers to me. You'll get some personal items. Mom's jewelry. Things like that." I stared at him. "Have you read the will?" "I don't need to. Dad and I discussed this years ago. He always said the business would go to me. I'm the one who understands finance. You're a teacher." The way he said teacher. Like it was something small. "When did Dad tell you this?" "I don't know. Multiple times." "It was understood." "Understood." "Yes. Look, Natalie, this isn't personal. It's practical. The estate is complex. Multiple LLCs. Investment portfolios. Real estate holdings in 3 states. You wouldn't know what to do with it. So you've decided." "Dad decided. Years ago. I'm just executing his wishes." He checked his watch. "Expensive. The kind that costs more than I make in 6 months. I need you out of the Medina house by Friday. I've got a buyer interested. Tech executive from California. Cash offer. We need to move fast. Derek, I live there. You've been staying there. Temporarily. While Dad was sick. But he's gone now. The property needs to be liquidated. Estate taxes are substantial. Every month we delay costs money. Where am I supposed to go?" He frowned. Like I'd asked something unreasonable. "Don't you have an apartment?" "I gave it up in October. When Mom died. When Dad needed someone. That was your choice." The same thing Marcus Dennison had said. "Do all brothers read from the same script?" "I'll give you until Sunday," Derek said. "That's fair. Pack your things. I'll have the cleaners come Monday." He walked to his car. A silver Tesla. Vanity plate. Chen 1. I stood in the parking lot of Evergreen Memorial Gardens and watched my brother drive away. I went back to the house. The house where I grew up. 6,000 square feet on Lake Washington. My parents bought it in 1994 when Dad's software consulting firm took off. Back when Bellevue was still affordable. Before the tech boom made millionaires out of everyone who owned property. I walked through the rooms. Living room with the fireplace Dad never figured out how to use. Kitchen where Mom taught me to make dan noodles. Dad's office with the mahogany desk and the photos of Derek at Harvard Business School. No photos of me. Not on the desk. I was on the refrigerator. Elementary school class pictures. Me holding my teaching certificate. Small things. Kitchen things. I started packing. Not because I agreed with Derek. Because I didn't know what else to do. I was in my childhood bedroom Tuesday afternoon when I heard the front door open. "Natalie." Derek's voice. Annoyed. I came downstairs. He was standing in the foyer with 2 men in matching gray shirts. Moving company logo on the chest. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Expediting. The buyer wants to close fast. We need the house empty." He gestured to the movers. "Everything in the bedrooms goes. Start upstairs." "Derek, I haven't finished. Which is why I hired help." He pulled out his phone. Started typing. They'll pack your stuff. Box it up. You can sort through it later. Where are they taking it? Storage unit in Renton. I'll send you the address. First 3 months are covered. After that it's on you. I'm still living here. He looked up from his phone. No, Natalie. You're not. Dad's gone. The estate is being settled. You're not a resident anymore. You're a guest who's overstayed. Did you read the will? I told you. I don't need to. I spoke with the attorney. Everything's confirmed. Which attorney? Dad's attorney. Richard Brennan. Brennan and Holt. Downtown Seattle. He handles all the family trusts. Did he tell you that you inherit everything? Derek's jaw tightened. He told me the estate is complex and that distribution would be handled according to Dad's documented wishes. Which I already knew because Dad and I discussed this extensively. When? Years ago. When he set up the trust. When he structured the business succession. I was in the room for those conversations, Natalie. You weren't. You were teaching finger painting to children. The movers had started upstairs. I could hear them opening drawers. I want to see the will, I said. It's not your concern. I'm his daughter. And you'll receive your share. Mom's jewelry. Some personal effects. Maybe a small distribution. But the substantive assets, the business, the properties, the investment accounts, those require someone who understands financial management. Someone who can preserve the legacy. He put his phone in his pocket. Looked at me with something close to pity. You took care of Dad. I appreciate that. But caregiving doesn't entitle you to an estate worth $3.7 million. Dad built that with his mind. With strategy. With business acumen. It goes to someone who can honor that. He built it with his time, I said quietly. Time he didn't spend with us. Time he didn't spend teaching me to ride a bike or showing up to my piano recitals or knowing what grade I taught. Derek's expression didn't change. Exactly. He sacrificed. To build something that would last. I'm not going to let that be squandered on someone who thinks teaching elementary school is an accomplishment. One of the movers came downstairs carrying a box. My books. My clothes. Where do you want these? The mover asked. Curb, Derek said. All of it. She can load them into her car herself. I watched them carry my life out of the house. Box after box. 13 years of living. Reduced to cardboard and packing tape. Derek stood in the doorway with his arms crossed. Supervising. When they finished, he handed me a business card. Storage unit address. Gate code on the back. You've got 72 hours to move the boxes or they go to Goodwill. He walked to his car. Stopped. Turned back. One more thing. Dad's lawyer confirmed it. Everything's mine. If you're thinking about contesting, don't. You'll lose. You'll spend money you don't have on attorneys who'll tell you exactly what I just told you. Save yourself the embarrassment. He got in his Tesla. Drove away. I stood on the curb next to 13 cardboard boxes and cried. I loaded the boxes into my Honda Civic. It took 4 trips. I drove to the storage unit in Renton. Unloaded everything into a 5x10 space that smelled like mildew and old carpet. Then I sat in my car in the parking lot and tried to figure out what to do next. I had $2,341 in my checking account. My teaching salary was $54,000 a year. Seattle rent for a 1-bedroom apartment averaged $2,200 a month. I didn't have first month, last month, and deposit saved. I'd spent the last 6 months taking care of Dad. I'd used my savings to cover groceries, medication, the nurse who came 3 times a week. Derek had the estate. $3.7 million. The house. The investment accounts. Everything. I pulled out my phone. Googled Brennan and Holt Attorneys Seattle. The website loaded. Professional. Expensive looking. Estate planning and wealth management for high net worth families. I called the main number. Brennan and Holt, how may I direct your call? Richard Brennan, please. This is Natalie Chen. Regarding the Chen family estate. One moment. Hold music. Vivaldi. Probably the expensive version. Then, this is Richard Brennan. Mr. Brennan, my name is Natalie Chen. I'm David Chen's daughter. My brother Derek said he's been in contact with you about our father's will. Silence. Long enough that I thought the call had dropped. Then, Miss Chen. Yes. I've been expecting your call. Something about the way he said it. the same way Lillian Marsh had said it. You have. Yes. Can you come to my office tomorrow? 2:00. Yes. I can do that. Good. Bring identification. The original will reading is scheduled for next Thursday, but I think we should speak beforehand. Why? Because your brother called me 6 days ago and informed me that he'd be handling estate distribution personally. He was very confident. Very specific. He said you'd been notified and that you were in agreement. I'm not in agreement. He packed my things and put them on the curb. Another pause. I see. Yes. I think we should definitely speak tomorrow. 2:00. Columbia Center. 56th floor. He hung up. I sat in my car outside the storage unit and tried to understand what had just happened. Columbia Center is the tallest building in Seattle. 76 floors. The elevator to the 56th floor had a security reader. I had to show ID to get past the lobby. The reception area for Brennan and Holt looked like money. Real hardwood. Leather chairs. Abstract art that probably cost more than my car. Richard Brennan came out to meet me himself. Late 50s. Salt and pepper hair. Brooks Brothers suit. The kind of lawyer who charges $800 an hour and makes you feel like it's a bargain. Miss Chen, thank you for coming. Please. He led me to a conference room. Corner office. View of Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains. We sat. He opened a folder. I need to apologize, he said. I blinked. For what? For not calling you sooner. Your brother contacted me the day after your father's funeral. He told me you'd been notified of the estate distribution. That you understood the assets were transferring to him. That you were cooperative and that there were no disputes. That's not what happened. I'm aware. Which is why I should have called you directly to confirm. Your brother was very convincing. Very detailed. He knew the asset structure. The trust formations. The LLC registrations. He spoke like someone who'd been intimately involved in the estate planning. Was he? No. Your father never brought him to a single meeting. Richard Brennan pulled a document from the folder. Placed it on the table. This is your father's last will and testament. Executed 18 months ago. Witnessed. Notarized. Filed with King County Probate Court. Derek said you confirmed he inherits everything. I did no such thing. Your brother called and asked me to confirm that the estate was valued at approximately $3.7 million. I confirmed the valuation. He then stated, not asked, stated, that distribution would proceed according to his understanding. I told him that distribution would proceed according to the will. He said exactly, and hung up. Richard Brennan adjusted his glasses. Your brother heard what he wanted to hear. Or he lied. I'm not sure which. What does the will actually say? He opened to the first page. I'll read the relevant sections. But first you should understand something. Your father came to my office in September 2 years ago. He'd just been diagnosed with the early stages of coronary artery disease. His doctor told him he had time, but that he should get his affairs in order. I didn't know he was sick. He didn't tell anyone. Except me. And according to his notes, one other person. You. Me. He mentioned in our meeting that you'd driven him to his cardiology appointment. That you'd waited 3 hours in the lobby. That you'd asked the doctor questions and taken notes and made sure your father understood his medication schedule. I remembered. September 2 years ago. Dad had called me at school. Asked if I could take him to a doctor's appointment. Said Derek was busy with a merger. I'd taken a personal day. Driven to Medina. Sat with him while they ran tests. Derek doesn't know about this, Dad had said in the car afterward. He worries. About the business. About investors. I don't want him distracted. I'd promised not to say anything. Your father told me something during that meeting, Richard Brennan said. He said, Derek understands money. Natalie understands people. I built my fortune on money. But I built my life on people. He turned to page 4 of the will. This is the distribution section. Would you like me to read it or would you prefer to read it yourself? Read it. Please. He cleared his throat. Read in a clear, measured voice. I, David Wade Chen, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament. To my son, Derek James Chen, I leave my business library, my Harvard Business School class ring, and the sum of $100,000 from my personal investment account at Morgan Stanley. To my daughter, Natalie Chen, I leave the entirety of my remaining estate, including but not limited to the primary residence located at 847 Lakeshore Drive, Medina, Washington. All partnership interests in Chen Strategic Consulting LLC. All investment accounts, retirement funds and securities held in my name. The vacation property in Hood River, Oregon. And all personal property not specifically bequeathed elsewhere. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the table. That's not, Derek said. Your brother either lied or assumed. Based on your description of events, I believe he assumed. He interpreted our phone conversation as confirmation of what he already believed to be true. Why would Dad do this? Richard Brennan pulled out another document. Handwritten. Dad's handwriting. The way he made his W's too wide. He left this letter for you. To be delivered at the will reading. But given the circumstances, I think you should read it now. He slid it across the table. Natalie, if you're reading this, I'm gone and Richard has done his job. I need to explain something. I changed my will 18 months ago. Right after the cardiology appointment you took me to. Do you remember what you did that day? You took a personal day from school. You drove 40 minutes to Medina. You sat in the waiting room for 3 hours. When the doctor explained my condition, you asked questions I didn't know to ask. You wrote everything down. You made sure I understood what the medication did. Why I needed to take it. What the side effects were. On the drive home you asked if I was scared. I said yes. You said that was okay. That being scared meant I was paying attention. No one had asked me if I was scared in 30 years. I called Derek that night. Told him about the diagnosis. He said, "How serious is it? Do we need to restructure the business holdings? Should I talk to the accountants about succession planning?" He didn't ask if I was scared. I realized something that day. Derek loves the things I built. The company. The investments. The legacy. But you love me. The person. The father. The man who taught you to make scrambled eggs and who cried at your college graduation. I called Richard the next morning. The business is yours. The house is yours. The investments are yours. Not because you deserve them more. But because you'll use them to build a life, not a portfolio. Derek will contest this. He'll be angry. He'll tell you I wasn't in my right mind. He'll tell you this isn't fair. Don't listen. You sat with me during chemotherapy appointments I didn't tell him about. You made sure I ate when your mother died. You held my hand when I cried. That's worth more than any business degree. The money is yours. Build something beautiful. Love, Dad. I couldn't see the page anymore. Couldn't breathe. Richard Brennan pushed a box of tissues across the table. Waited. It took me 10 minutes to pull myself together. Derek doesn't know, I finally said. Correct. And based on his behavior, packing your belongings, selling the house without authorization, I believe he has no idea what's in the will. What happens now? Now we proceed with the official will reading. All beneficiaries present. I read the document aloud. Page by page. Including page 4, which contains the distribution terms. Can he contest? He can try. But your father was evaluated by 2 physicians before executing the will. Both certified full cognitive capacity. The will is airtight. Your brother would need to prove undue influence or incapacity. He has no evidence of either. Richard Brennan closed the folder. Miss Chen, your father spent 30 years building wealth for other people. He understood estate law better than most attorneys. He knew your brother would assume. He prepared for it. He documented everything. The house. Derek said he has a buyer. He has no authority to sell. The property is in the estate. It cannot be transferred or sold until probate is complete and the will is executed. Any contract he signed is void. He told the buyer. He lied. To the buyer. Possibly to himself. The reading is scheduled for next Thursday. Both beneficiaries are required to attend. I suggest you be there. I looked at the letter again. At Dad's handwriting. He knew Derek would do this. Pack my things. Throw me out. Your father knew your brother very well. That's why he was so specific in his documentation. He wanted to protect you. From displacement. From being erased. Richard Brennan stood. Extended his hand. I'll see you Thursday, Miss Chen. And for what it's worth, your father was very proud of you. I spent the next week in a hotel room near the airport. Extended stay. $89 a night. I'd pulled money from my emergency fund. The fund that was supposed to last 6 months. At this rate, it would last 3 weeks. I didn't tell Derek about the meeting with Richard Brennan. Didn't tell him I'd seen the will. He texted me twice. Once to send the storage unit address. Once to inform me that the Medina house was entering escrow and that I needed to return my key. I didn't respond. Thursday morning I drove to Columbia Center. Arrived at 9:45 a.m. Derek was already in the conference room. He wore a navy suit. Sitting at the head of the table like he owned it. His wife, Amber, sat next to him. Blonde. Immaculate. She'd been pleasant at the funeral. Distant but pleasant. Now she looked uncomfortable. I sat across from them. Derek glanced at me. Looked back at his phone. At exactly 10 o'clock Richard Brennan entered. He carried a leather portfolio. Set it on the table. Sat down. Thank you both for coming. This is the official reading of the last will and testament of David Wei Chen, executed September 22, 18 months ago. All beneficiaries are present. We'll proceed. Derek leaned back in his chair. Confident. Relax. Before we start, he said, I want to confirm the distribution timeline. The buyer for the Medina property wants to close by the end of the month. I'll need the estate certification expedited. Richard Brennan looked at him over his glasses. Mr. Chen, you have no authority to sell the Medina property. It's part of the estate. I'm the executor. You're not the executor. I am. Your father appointed me as independent executor in the will. Derek frowned. That's fine. Whatever. You can sign off on the sale. The buyer is ready. Cash offer. $4.2 million. We'll discuss property matters after the reading. First, the will. Richard Brennan opened the document. He read the opening sections. Date. Witnesses. Declaration of sound mind. Then he reached page 3. The personal bequests. To my son, Derek James Chen, I leave my business library, currently housed in my home office, my Harvard Business School class ring, and the sum of $100,000 from my personal investment account at Morgan Stanley, account number ending in 4829. Derek's expression didn't change. And the remainder. Page 4. Yes. Page 4. Richard Brennan turned the page. To my daughter, Natalie Chen, I leave the entirety of my remaining estate. The room went silent. Derek stared at the document. What? The entirety of the remaining estate. Including but not limited to. No. That's not. Read the rest. The business holdings. The LLCs. Those are separate. They're not separate. They're included in the phrase, entirety of my remaining estate. Would you like me to read the complete list? Yes. Richard Brennan read. Item. Line by line. The house in Medina. The Hood River property. All partnership interests in Chin Strategic Consulting LLC. All investment accounts. All retirement funds. All securities. All personal property. Derek's face went white. Then read. That's not possible. It's documented right here. Page 4. Signed. Witnessed. Notarized. He wouldn't. We talked about this. For years. The business was supposed to go to me. He said that. When did he say that? I don't know. Multiple times. It was understood. I'm the one with the MBA. I'm the one who understands corporate structure. Natalie's a teacher. She doesn't know the first thing about managing a portfolio. People change their minds, Richard Brennan said quietly. Particularly when circumstances change. What circumstances? Your father executed this will 18 months ago. After a medical appointment. An appointment your sister attended. Derek looked at me. Really looked at me. What medical appointment? Cardiology, I said. September 2 years ago. He called me. Asked me to drive him. You were busy with a merger. He didn't tell me he was sick. I know. Why not? He said you'd worry about the business. About investors. He didn't want you distracted. Derek's jaw clenched. This is manipulation. She knew he was sick. She used that. She made herself indispensable. By taking him to the doctor? Richard Brennan's voice was sharp. By making sure he understood his medication? By being present. By making him feel guilty. By playing the devoted daughter while I was building a career. You packed her belongings and left them on the curb, Richard Brennan said. You told her the estate was yours. You lied to a buyer about having authority to sell property you don't own. And you did all of this without reading the will. Because you confirmed. I confirmed the estate valuation. Nothing more. You heard what you wanted to hear. Amber put her hand on Derek's arm. Derek. Stop. He shook her off. How much? What's the total? Richard Brennan consulted his notes. Approximately $3.6 million. Liquid assets, real estate and business interests combined. And I get $100,000. And the item specified. Yes. Derek stood up, paced to the window, stared out at the sound. This isn't fair, he said, voice tight, controlled. I spent 15 years positioning myself to take over the business. I got the MBA. I built the client relationships. I structured the succession plan. And Dad gives it all to someone who teaches 8-year-olds to read. He gave it to someone who asked if he was scared, I said quietly. Derek turned. What? After the cardiology appointment. On the drive home. I asked if he was scared. He said yes. I said that was okay. So what? So when you called him that night you asked about restructuring the business. About succession planning. About the accountants. You didn't ask if he was scared. Derek's face twisted. Because I was trying to help. To solve the problem. The problem was that he was dying. You can't solve that with restructuring. And you could. No. But I could sit with him. Which is what he needed. Derek looked at Richard Brennan. I'm contesting this. Undue influence. Diminished capacity. Whatever it takes. You're welcome to try. You'll lose. Your father was evaluated by Dr. Patricia Hammond and Dr. Robert Chu before executing the will. Both certified full cognitive function. Both documented that he was lucid, articulate and clear about his intentions. I have their sworn affidavits. He was on heart medication, which does not impair cognitive function. The medical evaluations specifically addressed that. Then I'll argue undue influence. She isolated him. She moved into the house. She controlled his information. She moved into the house after your mother died. 5 months after the will was executed. Your timeline doesn't work. Derek opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. How much to settle? He finally said. Excuse me. How much does she want? To transfer the business assets. To make this go away. 1 million. 2. Richard Brennan looked at me. Miss Chen. I thought about Dad's letter. Derek will contest this. Don't listen. No, I said. Derek stared at me. No. No settlement. No transfer. Dad left me the estate. I'm keeping it. You don't know how to run a business. I'll learn. Or I'll hire people who do. You'll destroy everything he built. You packed my belongings and left them on the curb. You sold a house you didn't own. You lied to me. To a buyer. Probably to yourself. I stood up. Dad knew you'd do this. That's why he was so specific. That's why he documented everything. Natalie. You get $100,000 and a box of books. That's what Dad thought you earned. I suggest you take it and leave. Amber stood. We should go. Derek didn't move. This isn't over. Yes it is, Richard Brennan said. The will is filed. The probate court has jurisdiction. Miss Chen is the primary beneficiary. You can contest if you want. You'll spend more on legal fees than you'd ever recover. And you'll damage your relationship with your sister permanently. But yes, you can contest. Derek looked at me. At Richard Brennan. At Amber who was already walking toward the door. He walked out. Didn't look back. The door closed. Richard Brennan gathered his documents. That went about as expected. What happens now? Now the estate transfers to your name. The house. The business interests. The accounts. Everything. You're a business owner, Miss Chen. I don't know how to run a consulting firm. Your father's partner, Thomas Wu, has been running day-to-day operations for 3 years. He's excellent. Keep him. Pay him well. Let him manage the business while you figure out what you want to do. He handed me a folder. These are the account details. Property deeds. Partnership agreements. Everything you need. I'll handle the probate filing. The estate should clear in 90 days. The house. Derek told a buyer. The contract is void. I've already notified the buyer's attorney. No sale is possible without your authorization. I looked at the folder. At the documents that represented my father's entire life's work. He's never going to forgive me, I said. Probably not. But that's his choice, not yours. You didn't do this. Your father did. Because you earned it. I moved back into the house on Lakeshore Drive 2 weeks later. Derek had already removed Dad's business library. The shelves in the office were empty. He'd also taken the Harvard Business School class ring. And according to the bank, he'd withdrawn the $100,000 the day after the will reading. He didn't take the family photos. Those were still on the mantle. Mom and Dad on their wedding day. Derek and me as kids. Christmas mornings. Birthdays. In every photo, Dad was smiling. Mom was smiling. Derek and I looked happy. I wondered when it had all gone wrong. Mrs. Park from across the street came by the first week with homemade kimchi and kind eyes. I heard about your parents, she said. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Your father was a good man. He used to shovel my driveway in winter. Even after he got sick. I didn't know that. He didn't tell people. He just did things. He squeezed my hand. He'd be proud of you. I went back to teaching in September. Oakmont Elementary welcomed me back. Dr. Harris, the principal, told me they'd held my position as long as they could. That they were glad I was home. Home. The word felt strange. The house on Lakeshore Drive was home now. Not the cramped apartment I'd given up. Not the hotel room near the airport. Home. I met with Thomas Wu, Dad's business partner. He was 58. Competent. He'd been running Chin Strategic Consulting for 3 years while Dad's health declined. Your father was brilliant, he told me over coffee. But he was also practical. He knew I could handle the operations. He trusted me. I hope you will too. What do you need from me? Quarterly meetings. Strategic decisions. Trust. Otherwise, let me do what I do best. I kept him. Paid him well. Let him run the business. The business generated $340,000 in profit the first year. Thomas sent me monthly reports. Client updates. Revenue projections. I read them all. Learned the language. Started to understand what Dad had built. Derek and I didn't speak for 8 months. Then, in November, I got an email. Natalie. Derek. Amber asked me to reach out. He thinks we should try to repair things. I don't know if that's possible. But I'm willing to meet if you are. Coffee. Neutral location. Me know. I thought about it for 3 days. Then I replied, yes. Café Allegro. Saturday at 10. We met. It was awkward. He looked thinner. Tired. Amber's pregnant, he said. We're having a girl. She wants our daughter to know her aunt. Congratulations. Thanks. He stirred his coffee. Didn't drink it. I was wrong. About the will. About what I said. I don't know what I thought. That the business was mine because I understood it. Because I wanted it. Dad wanted someone who'd honor the people. Not just the profits. I know. I read the letter. Richard sent me a copy after the reading. He looked up. I didn't ask if he was scared. I should have. You were trying to fix things. That's what you do. Some things can't be fixed. He paused. I packed your belongings. Put them on the curb. While you were at work. Like you were trash. Yes. I'm sorry. The words hung between us. Small. Insufficient. But there. Hey, I said. Okay. I accept your apology. It doesn't fix what happened. But it's a start. We finished our coffee. Made small talk. He showed me ultrasound photos. I told him about my 3rd graders. When we left, he hugged me. Brief. Awkward. Thanksgiving, he said. Amber wants to host. Will you come? I'll think about it. Hey. That's fair. I went to Thanksgiving. Met Amber's family. Watched Derek try too hard to be the version of himself he thought everyone wanted. We're not close. We probably never will be. But we're trying. I still live in the house on Lakeshore Drive. I repainted Dad's office. Turned it into a reading room. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. A chair by the window that overlooks the lake. Sometimes I sit there and read Dad's letter. The one Richard Brennan gave me. You sat with me during chemotherapy appointments I didn't tell him about. You made sure I ate when your mother died. You held my hand when I cried. That's worth more than any business degree. He was right. The money bought me security, stability, freedom. But the letter bought me something else. Proof that showing up matters. That asking if someone's scared matters. That love isn't performance, it's presence. Derek got the books and the ring and the money. I got everything else. And I'd make that trade every single time.